Welcome. My name is Kendra Morgan, and I'm the host of the Rise and Build podcast, where we hope to empower you to rise up and build a strong family, knowing you have to strengthen your hands to do the good work. Come with us as we rise and build. Hey, you guys, welcome to the Rise and Build podcast. I am super excited about today. I am sitting across from both of my daughters, Addie and Maggie, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves in just a second. But our series is the same. We are building kids in the world we live in. What does that look like? And today's topic is screen time, and we are going to talk about how we did it, how we raised our family with screen time. We're going to talk about the Morgan way. First and foremost, I want people to understand that we are not perfect in this area. I don't ever want to come across that we have it all together, but I do feel that we spent a lot of time researching and praying, and we implemented a lot of cool things that we're going to talk about today. But first, I want our listeners to get to know you guys. So Maggie, tell us about you.
Hi, I'm Maggie. I am currently living in the Dallas area, and I'm working for a pretty large church, working with high school girls as their intern there. It's such a fun job. I love it. And I'm also getting my master's through Liberty University online in pastoral counseling as well. And so it's been a joy and so fun season of life. It's been awesome.
So Maggie, you are our oldest.
Yes.
So through our screen time and technology, we learned a lot through you.
Yes.
And then you also, as far as future, like what are you wanting to do with that master's degree?
Yeah. So eventually I'd love to work with young adults in women's ministry, getting just to pour into women and teach them that there's a hope in Jesus Christ, and getting to help them through problems that are in our world today and help them find hope. And that would be my main goal eventually.
And I love that. Love it. Okay, Addie, tell us about you.
Hi, I am Addie. I am the middle child in our family. We have a younger brother. I'm still in school. I just started nursing school, actually. This is my first semester, so I'll graduate in about a year and a half. I'm super interested in working with pediatrics, children, women. Would love to do nursing like in a hospital setting there for a while. At some point, probably not forever, but right now that's the goal, that's the dream, just working with children, and
That's
school
awesome.
will be done in a little bit.
Yeah, you're going through it fast. And so you are our middle, but you're also only a grade behind Maggie.
Yeah.
So you guys are pretty close in age.
Yeah, I feel like we've always kind of gone through the same season of life at the same time, like especially with all the screen time stuff. You might have got the short end of the stick a little bit. 'Cause
Maybe a little
I
bit.
feel like I always kind of was just right behind you with things. And then you had it figured out by time our brother came around. Jace came along.
Yeah, and I don't know if we really ever had it figured out, but I felt like your third kid, you kind of know a little bit more than you do your first and second.
Yeah.
So getting into this, I love that you kind of shared about you guys, but I kind of want to dive into this topic. I feel like you're the younger generation, and so I wanted to bring some of your wisdom and knowledge on this podcast. But I want to talk about, let's just talk about, when did you first get a device? Do you remember your first device?
Yeah, I mean, I remember, maybe not even it was a screen, but we had those little tiny iPods.
Yes.
And I remember that was like the first piece of technology we had because we could listen to music.
Okay.
But they were tiny.
There was no screen.
Right.
It was a little, I don't remember. even what
iPod
it's called.
Shuffle?
Yeah,
Maybe
iPod
that's what it was
Yeah, I
called.
think you're right.
Yeah.
And you could download your own music.
Yes.
Okay.
But Dad had to plug it into his computer to download music to it because it had no screen.
Okay.
Yes.
So that was
so
like
it's all filtered. And,
Yeah.
It was.
Okay. And then talk to us about when did you get like a device, like with a screen, a device? What age was that?
The first time for me was an iPad.
Okay.
And I think I was in 4th or 5th grade. I think
Okay.
5th grade. And it was, my first iPad. and you had to be on Wi-Fi. So it was really only used at home because couldn't really use it at school.
Couldn't text with
it. It was more just for like to play games or to listen to music or those kind of things.
Take pictures on an iPad. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But that was the first thing I remember getting was a little iPad.
Yeah. Okay. I think I had an iPod Touch maybe, but I think it was one of like your old phones that you made an iPod Touch, and I like couldn't call. I really could just text on Wi-Fi or take pictures or download apps, but we couldn't. You had our phone like or iPod Touch secure, so we couldn't download anything without a password.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then let's back up even a little bit more. Tell me what you remember with like PG-13 or rated R movies, or what were the Morgan rules with that?
We couldn't watch them. There was no rule other than you're not 13. You couldn't watch it. There's a reason why.
And even some like PG-13 like were not like they were worse than like you know, like not good movies.
Right.
And so I remember Dad would always do research and like look up what was good about the movie, what was bad, and like would decide if we could watch it or even maybe fast forward through parts or whatever.
Right.
But there was always a little bit of like caution with movies and TV shows. Like I remember we couldn't watch SpongeBob.
Yeah.
And just like shows
I did
like
not
that.
like SpongeBob.
Yeah.
But why did you? I mean, you knew why you couldn't watch SpongeBob.
Yeah, because he said stupid and shut up, and we weren't allowed to say those things. So you just didn't want us to fill our mind with things that were evil.
Yeah.
But I mean, come to find out, now that I'm older, I have sevevel friends that their parents didn't let them watch SpongeBob either. Like, I think it was like...
we're not the only ones.
And then you weren't crazy. It's
just...
good.
Yeah. Okay, but I love, Addie, what you just said, because I feel like Dad and I told you over and over and over, and Jace over and over again, what you just said. So what did we always tell you guys? If you put something in your mind,
it goes straight to your heart.
Yes. And so we always wanted you to put healthy thoughts into your mind because that's what fills your heart, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, so I love the movies and I love the SpongeBob. I love that you brought that up. What other, once you got your devices, which we're going to talk about the contracts because I think that's a huge piece of it.
Yeah.
But do you remember any other rules once you got like a phone or got your devices that we kind of had?
Really, they just like, they were there for like communication, not to like just constantly be on our phone playing games. So like we couldn't take them upstairs. Like when we went to bed, like we were going to sleep. It wasn't something that we just would go upstairs and play Flappy Bird for hours on end. Like we couldn't take them upstairs.
Yeah, we had a docking station in the kitchen and all the devices were there. No one took them upstairs, didn't go in your room, didn't go in the bathrooms. We just kind of had household rules like that.
Yeah, we couldn't, like with dinner time, like our phones weren't allowed at dinner time because that was a time for us to hear about our days and hear about what happened and time for community and fellowship. And so our phones weren't allowed at the table.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And
movies.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes I still find you telling us, be like, kids, put your phones down. But even like now, like, I don't know, we're in college but still I feel like I never get my phone out at a dinner table because it's just rules that expectations you set when we were 12, 13 years old that almost 10 years later, I still don't bring it out because it's just, you value that time with your family.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, so let's kind of dive into when you got your first phone. Maggie, I'm going to share a story.
Yeah.
So we would have in our Morgan household, we would have like family meetings, and the rule was anyone could call a family meeting at any time. We would drop what we're doing and listen to what you guys wanted to share. And Maggie had called a family meeting. And I remember she, with Dad, he's pretty detailed. So there were times like if you're going to bring something to Dad, the more detail you have with a solution, the better that's going to go over, right?
Yes.
So Maggie had really thought through her words and had was really ready to present to Dad the fact that she is the only child in the entire school district in middle school that didn't have a phone. And I'll never forget, you had your notes and you were ready and you shared all that. And I'll never forget, Ryan took a deep breath and he goes, man, Maggie, I can tell that you really put a lot of thought into this and you have really brought some great information and you have great solutions. But it also brings me great comfort to know that if I need to get a hold of you, I can call any other middle school kid and they can let me know how you're doing. And it kind of made you mad because you knew then, like, you probably weren't going to be getting a phone.
Get one. Yeah.
Right. And then, but not having a device, it did kind of cause some issues. Like I remember one time you forgot your lunch and I took it up to the school and asked them to let you know. And they're like, well, we don't let them know. Could you just text her? And I was like, she doesn't have a phone. And so they're like, well, could you text a friend? So I would have to text your friends and say, hey, could you let Maggie know I left her lunch? So there were times like it caused some inconvenience in our world, which we've always told you to be set apart looks different, right? Do you guys remember a time that you felt set apart or you were different?
Yeah. I remember just being like in 5th grade and one of my like really good friends had a phone. And I remember just like after school, like I hadn't seen you in like 5 minutes. I'm like, where's mom in the pickup line? You know, like things like that. Or even like soccer practice.
Yes.
Like soccer's 10 minutes away from home and I get done with soccer practice early.
Right.
And I don't have a phone. Like I would have to use my friend's phone to text mom or call dad or whatever. So just different things like that. Whereas like you really had to rely on your friends or the people around you. Because I didn't have a phone in 5th grade. And but a lot of people did.
Time. Yeah, intermediate was when 5th and 6th grade was when I feel like all of our friends got phones. So it was always like after, because I mean, they weren't allowed to use their phones in school. So it was really just like after school when everyone would pull it out and play the new games and play. And I would just kind of stand around. I just kind of like watch, like, can I have a turn? Like, and just wait on you. But I feel like that's whenever I remember my friends getting phones was like intermediate.
Yeah. And I feel like, honestly, now it's younger.
Yeah.
Right?
For
and
sure.
we see young kids come in with an old phone or old device.
Right.
And so I think now, as our listeners are listening, it's harder. I think it's harder and harder to raise kids in the world we live in because of technology. Yeah. And at least you guys were a little bit older.
And I feel like social media, too, has really taken off. Yeah. And it wasn't, like, there wasn't YouTube. Like, there was, but it wasn't, like, vlogs and influencers. Like, that wasn't a thing whenever we were. Yeah. But now all these kids and stuff are just doing what they see online, and that wasn't. We were making, like, iMovies, like, video dances.
Things, yeah, and there's just pressure with that, I feel like, with social media and trying to fit in and all these different things. And so these kids feel like in 2nd grade, I actually need a phone to fit into
to post on TikTok.
To do all these things, which is so different.
Yeah, it is different. But, it is. Okay, so one thing that your dad and I learned, this is not something we came up with, but we went to Camp Kanakuk, and we learned from Joe White that if a child is responsible enough to have a device, then they should be responsible enough to write a contract. And so we really went through this whole course learning about that, and we implemented that. And so anytime you got a device, you had to write a contract. And so part of the contract was, one, we wanted you to be grateful and understand that it's a privilege to have a device. And so we would want you to write a little thank you for being grateful, having a grateful heart. And then 2, we had you write your rules and we had you write your consequences. Yeah. So I think it would be fun. We still have your contracts. We pulled them out of the file cabinet this morning. We were reading over them, kind of giggling through them. But I would love if you guys feel comfortable sharing a little bit about your contracts that you wrote for your iPhones.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like I can start. We kind of always just started off by like thanking you. So there was like always a little letter. I just said, first of all, thank you so much for my new phone that was presented To me, I know that it's such a big responsibility. I know most kids do not get phones at my age. And so even with that, I'm so thankful, such a big blessing, and I'm going to be very responsible. And then it kind of goes into like several different bullet points of like the rules that I set for myself. So I just said I would make good grades. I will maintain A's and B's at all times. If my grades slip up at any circumstance, I will lose my phone until my grades get back up. And with that, I remember I was in high school and I remember I got a bad grade, like I had a C or something. It was high, and I lost my phone for like a month. It felt like a month. It might not have been that long.
It's a long time.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like when we would slip up, you would pull out our contracts and be like, well, you said if I would have known that, I would have maybe been a little easier on myself.
You were hard on yourself. But that was something we learned too, is that you guys would make your consequences harder than we ever would have.
Yeah.
So they taught us, like, let them write it and they have to follow through, and it teaches you to follow through. So we did pull them out quite a bit. Okay. So keep going, Addie. I love this.
If I delete any text or apps without permission, I will lose my phone for 3 days. Anytime that I disobey something from the contract, I will always go and put my phone on your dresser, nowhere else. If I lose my phone or break my phone, I will buy a new phone.
I love that.
I need to share with my siblings, like if they want to play a game or something, or if my sister needs my phone for overnight stays. Which I don't know why. You probably had a phone.
I don't know.
I don't
Who
know
knows?
why. I was just feeling generous. If I do not do my homework, I will discuss the punishment with my parents, but most likely I will have to put my phone on your dresser. So that's a reoccurring thing.
Yeah.
I remember our phones always, if we were in trouble or just like broke some rule of some sort, that was just, we knew where it was going.
Yes.
And it was just going on your dresser. But it was, even like that, we knew where it was, but we never went to go get it. We knew the expectation of just, we weren't going to have it.
Yeah.
So I feel like those were the main things. Buying music or apps without asking if it costs money. But most of our apps, and like we didn't have Safari, we had K9 browser. And so we couldn't, like, if there was, it was just like a filter. If there was anything inappropriate or things that a 13, 14, 15-year-old shouldn't see, it kind of was just filtered for us. So I feel like that those were the main things that we had access to.
Yeah, and I feel like when you got the device, the more you were trusted, the more you got. Like, we didn't just give you full reign to everything. Like, you had to kind of earn it. And we would give you more apps, or we would give you access to more things. Yeah,
like our music. I remember I didn't have any explicit music.
Or even like Instagram. Like, I remember I didn't get Instagram till my 13th or 14th birthday. And it was like, that was something that, again, I had to bring to mom and dad. I had to explain how I was going to use it, why I was going to use it, and that it wasn't just going to be about me.
Right.
But it was going to be about interacting with others, you know, being with others, not just posting a selfie or posting a picture of me, but interacting with my friends and people around me. And, you know, we had to talk through that. And then I was able to get it.
I love that you brought that up. So the social media thing, we just wanted, when we taught you girls, we didn't want you to post a picture of yourself to receive compliments. So we wanted you to be confident in that the Lord created you in his image, and that is who you are. And you don't have to receive compliments saying you're so pretty. That was big on the social media part. But we also felt like if you're going to have social media, it's so important to interact. And it's dangerous to have social media and never post pictures and never do likes and never have comments. To just be on social media and scroll on other people's stuff, it just allows cracks, in my opinion, to Satan creeping in, saying, well, gosh, their life is perfect, or instead of just being involved in their life and commenting. So that was one thing we were kind of big on with the social media aspect of it too.
Yeah.
Maggie, what about your contract?
So again, kind of similar to Addie's, like we always started out with like a thank you. And so mine says, like, first of all, thank you for the phone. I know it is a privilege and it is a big responsibility. I know that you can trust me with the phone. I understand that the phone must be used with certain boundaries. The following boundaries are established to protect me from potential harm and to keep me focused on things that are important. I understand that if I fall outside of the established boundaries, that I will accept the consequences established below.
Yes.
And so just understanding those like boundaries too was so important. And so again, like starting with grades, I will lose the phone until the grade is returned to the level of my abilities. For example, if a B is expected and I have a C, I will lose the phone until a B is established. And so just those grades. Talking about not being nice to siblings or not sharing, I would lose my phone for 2 days. If I try to change the password or deceive my parents from changing the password with restrictions, I would lose my phone for 4 days. Taking bad pictures or videos or talking about other people in a bad light or gossiping, I would lose my phone for 6 weeks. Talking bad about someone or gossiping, I would lose my phone for 2 weeks. Not completing homework before using a phone, I would receive one warning from a parent. And then if I continue to be on my phone and not complete homework, I would lose it for a week. So yeah, just these certain and different boundaries and consequences. And then again, K9 was a huge one.
Right.
If I'm searching on the internet, I must use K9 and not Safari. And if I was using Safari or something else, I would lose my phone for 6 months.
Wow. That was a big consequence.
So,
Yeah, mine says 6 months too for the K9.
Yeah.
And I think that was just, we wanted to protect what you saw, right? Because the devices can be so dangerous if they're used inappropriately. How do you feel? Do you feel that we kept a pretty open and honest communication? If you did see something, you kind of knew, what did you know?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the time, if we were to see something, it wasn't our fault. Like, the world's just evil. Like, it's not like we were, like, searching for it or looking for it. So I feel like in a situation like that, then that's obviously a lot easier to be like, oh my gosh, I saw this. Like, I didn't mean to. And I feel like usually there was open communication about that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, yeah.
Yeah. And so for the listeners, I want them to know, these are the older contracts. Like, we're looking through like your iTouch contracts and your iPhone or your iPad, and they're handwritten and the font.
I signed this in 2015.
So they're, I mean, and I feel like you would write it out, and then Dad kind of taught you how to edit a contract and how you can add to a contract, and you would initial, and, like, he kind of taught you that process.
Yeah, some of these words are not my words.
Yeah,
like Dad definitely added stuff into this because I'm like, I would not use that.
Sense.
But
but I want the listeners to, because I don't want them to be like, well, I mean, my kid has no idea how to write a contract. You all didn't either.
No.
And we started out super simple and just kind of worked our way up, but it set really healthy boundaries. And we have Jace's contract too here with the phone and the TV and the Xbox. His are pretty similar. As we were reading through it, the things that we are a little different is just how we want him to always respect women. And so he has 2 or 3 just rules with always, treating women right on social media, and those type of things is probably, but for the most part, I feel like his are kind of the same rules.
And video games was a big one with him too, because that's so different than like Addie and I. So
setting limits and not playing hours upon hours, and grades fall into all that too with him. Okay, so I love the contracts for sure. I think that they just really helped establish some good boundaries, and they were easy to do. We encourage families to do contracts all the time. Let's also talk about how we tried to protect you, and how we ended up putting some passwords and protection on the devices.
Yeah, I remember there were restrictions on our phone, so like we couldn't add a certain app or a game or anything because we couldn't add it. Like there were passwords, there were restrictions with on the phone. And so we would have to ask again, you guys to delete an app or to add an app. And so I remember like there's probably sometimes like we would try to add something, but we couldn't like add an app or anything.
Yeah, there was like a password that I don't know what it was, but we would just bring it to you, or even like downloading music. There were certain things I don't really remember. Like, I remember sometimes I'd be frustrated, be like, oh, I got to go find the password, you know, and go find mom or dad, and they would just put the thing in. But it was just for our protection. They wanted to know and then it led for a conversation. What app are you downloading?
Right.
What game are you playing?
Right.
Oh, do your friends at school play that game? You know, like it was more versus us just like being up in our room and downloading what we wanted to download, and you never knew what was going on or what we were doing.
Yeah, it created a sense of just accountability, honestly, like seeing what we're downloading, seeing what we're looking at, seeing if our friends do it, you know, and it's like all these different things.
We're not going to like, you're not going to give us a password for if the app is not age appropriate. So
yeah. And then it was the same with time limits. Like you guys had created time limits on our phone, and so like we could only spend certain amount of times on certain apps. And once we like reached that time, we couldn't be on the app. So and there was a password for that as well that you guys had, which helped us with kind of our priorities and within the phone and using our time well. Yeah. Going back the contract, and like 3 years later, it looks like Dad edited it because it's his handwriting, but it says manage time better on Snapchat, use moderation. Yeah. So I just think like you would always come back to like where we started, and we knew the expectation, and like I mean, you were realistic. You weren't like 5 minutes a day on this app and this app. Like you wanted us to connect with our friends because that just is the day and age that we're in. Like social media and like the internet and phones, like that's just how people connect. It's sad, but you didn't want us to not be able to connect with our friends or talk with our friends just because you were scared of us having a phone. Yeah.
Well, it's such a hard balance, right? I mean, we sit with families that are like, nope, they'll never have it. They'll never have social media. They'll never have Snapchat. You're crazy. I'm not doing it. And then we have families that their kids have all that with no restrictions, and it can be dangerous. Right. And really, in my opinion, both of those could be a little dangerous because at some point in time, we felt like you guys are going to leave the house, and it's our job to train and equip you. So we give each thing to you a little bit at a time with a little bit less rules, so that when you did leave, you felt like you could manage that. Yeah. Talk to me about that. Did that work? Did that help?
Yeah, I definitely feel like it helped me understand that I can't just like do everything when I want it, you know, like I definitely do feel like I was well equipped, like moving out of the house, going to college, like, cause my mind wasn't filled with things from the devil because I didn't have access to them. Yeah. And so those were already things that were already put in place that I didn't have any desire to go out and seek because I had never, the first 20 years of my life, 19 years of my life, I never had access to it, and I was content and happy. Yeah. Yeah, I would say similar. Like, it's like going to college, it's like you weren't tempted by those things because we were equipped, we were trained in what we knew. And it was that, you know, we could use our phones, but there were boundaries within that. There were restrictions within that. Right. And to continue to use those things to protect our minds and our hearts. And I mean, I've seen people going to college and they go completely off the walls because their parents were so strict or their parents weren't strict, and then they're using their phones however they want to, and like ultimately that's just going to hurt them and hurt their hearts and hurt their minds, and it could affect their relationships in the future. It could affect every part of their life. And so just the importance of having those boundaries, and letting kids use their phones, but having those boundaries set in place so once they get to college they can use it how they're supposed to. Yeah, teaching them how to use it, how they're supposed to.
Yeah, because it's with you forever, right? I mean, you're going to take that phone into your marriage, and you're going to take it into being a parent, hopefully someday. And so it's the more we can kind of mold that and teach that, the better it is for you guys.
Yeah, and our world is just so much more technology, especially when we even got our first phone, like Netflix and I mean, YouTube, so much more, TikTok, like all these different things. And so just parents even being more aware of those things is so important because it's our world is so much more filled with social media and technology and all these things.
And we disciplined. I mean, you said it earlier, Addie, like there were times that phone was on the dresser. Like we had those boundaries and we didn't do things perfect. You guys didn't do things perfect. One thing we tried to do is just trust you for the decisions you were making and what you were doing, knowing that you're not perfect and you're probably going to make some mistakes. We were not real big into the Life 360. We didn't follow you everywhere you went.
No.
We wanted you to be kids, and it's okay to be a little ornery. And so we wanted you to know that we trust you, and we didn't. And we struggled with that because it would be nice. We have it now.
Which I think is funny. Like the time where you should have been tracking us, you didn't track us.
Yeah.
Like all of high school, never. And it's like we went to college and I was the reason. Yes, because I was going to Florida with my friends and we were driving 16 hours in a car.
I was a nervous wreck with that.
And so Mom, you were just like, we're going to get this and it's only for so that I know where you are on the road. Like it's just safety, not, but I mean, now we still all have it, but
we kind of like it.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I'll go somewhere and Addie will text and be like, "Hey, why are you at Hobby Lobby?" And I'm like, "What are you doing? Why are you watching?"
I know I do it sometimes to see if you're home. I'm like, "Oh, she's home. I'll call her." And
No. So I mean, I see. Again, it's a device that good can come out of it,
right?
But we also have to let you be kids and let you do your thing. And so I don't track you guys very often, or I try not to for sure. Okay, is there anything else that you would like to share about screen time? TV. We aren't huge TV fan or like TV watchers. So
no, I think that comes from Dad.
Dad
doesn't like TV. Yeah.
So I feel like we didn't have a ton of rules with that. We just aren't a huge TV family.
Right.
I mean, movie nights, and like you said, Dad would research movies to make sure they were clean and stuff like that. And I wouldn't let you watch SpongeBob, but there were. I mean, for the most part, it was really the devices, and there is a lot of research with them. I mean, it'll say 66% of families do not do any monitoring on a child's device. And I always tell families, if you're not teaching your child, chances are they're going to be sitting on a bus with a kid right beside them that has no boundaries or no rules. So we have to teach them so they will know what to say and how to turn away and walk away. And I think Dad has done a great job teaching you 3 kids that, like, if you don't believe in it, turn away and walk away.
Right.
And so we have to teach it or the kids just don't know. Right. Okay. So we always wrap up Building All Children with a scripture or turn us back to the Bible. We believe in the power of the truth. Do either of you want to share a scripture?
Yeah, I can share one. I'd love to. Colossians 3 verses 1 and 2, it says, "Since then you have been raised with Christ, set your hearts on things above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on things above, not on the earthly things." And so I think this is, I mean, it's not that iPhones are bad or technology's bad. Right. It's not. But I think if our priorities are set on phones and it's above our family, it's above our friends, it's above school, it's above our relationship with the Lord, like that's going to affect everything you do. Yeah. And so first we should always set our minds on Christ, and then our family, our friends, our school, and then your phone and interacting with people. And this is even just a reminder for me, like to set my mind on things above, because earthly things fade and they go away, but Christ is forever. And so that would be my one little encouragement.
It's good.
Yeah, and then mine is from Psalm 16:8. "I know that the Lord is always with me. I will never be shaken, for he is right beside me."
So good.
Just feel like that is good. Something to always remember, that no matter what you're doing, always going through your day, that the Lord's always with you, and that whenever you need him. So I think that's a good reminder for me.
I love
it. Good.
One thing your dad and I prayed over you guys and really said over you guys a lot was Romans 12:2. And it talks about just don't be conformed to the world, but let your hearts be transformed. And we never wanted you to just conform to what the world is doing, but we wanted your hearts to just be grasped by Jesus and be changed and be transformed. And so that was a scripture with technology that we just kind of seeked and went back to a lot. There's no perfect way to do it. And I think it gets harder and harder every year because technology is constantly constantly changing. But we wanted just to throw out a few ideas for families that they can implement with their children, set some rules and some boundaries. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It was awesome.
Oh my gosh, I could sit and chit chat with you guys forever because it's always so fun. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. It was awesome.
Let us close with a word of prayer. Dear Lord Jesus, thank you for these children in our lives. Thank you for all the resources you have placed in our life to help us rise up and build. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you for listening to the Rise and Build podcast, brought to you by Building All Children, a child development program in Tulsa, Oklahoma. To learn more about Building All Children or the Rise and Build podcast, please visit buildingallchildren.org. This podcast is crowdfunded. We appreciate our sponsors and the donations given by our listeners. Come with us as we rise and build.